Learn how to clean your carburetor on a Honda Rebel 250. So this is Keith, and I brought Keith over because I was having issues with my bike in idling. I kept needing to use choke just to keep it idled. I guess the previous owner must have kept it all winter long without draining the fuel or emptying the fluid bowl in the carburetor. So it was time to get it cleaned. I got Keith from Craigslist and he came with same day service. So let's begin. For the tools, you're gonna need WD-40, a 10mm socket, a flathead, a Phillips wire, a 10mm wrench, a bigger wrench for flexing, and you're gonna want carb cleaner. This is the AutoZone brand. Now, when it comes to disassembly, it's really important to turn off the gas. So switch the petcock valve to the off position. Make sure you check it very carefully. And then when you take off the fuel line, disconnect the fuel tube by releasing the clamp and tugging on the cable lightly. Be careful of the fuel sprayback. Next, remove both side covers with the Phillips head screwdriver. Gently tug on the box to release the supports. Remove the bracket next to the battery side cover using your 10mm. This will give you better access to the carburetor. Remove the airbox panel using a Phillips screwdriver for all 4 screws. Then remove the air filter by pulling out the metal clamp, freeing it from its housing. Now, you're going to want to remove the 2 Phillips screws located on the carb near the top. In this example, you see the 2 screws have already been removed. Remove the 2 10mm bolts on the carb portion attached to the engine. Use a wrench to reach this area. It will be probably a little bit tight, but take your time with it. You may have to go to both sides of the bike. Use a Phillips screwdriver in order to unscrew the metal housing that's clamping on the intake. Now, loosen the rubber housing from the carburetor. In this example, Keith uses a bigger wrench for flexing the plastic. It may take some effort, so be patient with it. Do this in conjunction with loosening the rubber through the airbox. Once you do all of this, the carburetor should loosen freely. Now, we need to get access to the float bowl, so rotate the carburetor and the fuel line until the bottom of the carb is facing your direction. Before you open the bottom of the gas bowl, position a drain pan underneath, or else you'll run into this dumb situation. Spray some WD-40 on the 4 Phillips screws holding the bottom together and use a screwdriver to release each screw. While Keith here used a drill, don't do it. You want to avoid breaking the threads. If you have a stubborn screw, use a vice grip in order to get a good hold on the nail and then twist with managed pressure until the screw breaks loose. Then unscrew the rest with a Phillips. Unscrew the idle adjustment screw. Make sure to keep the pieces together, including the spring and the washer. The carburetor gas bowl should swing open to the left, revealing the float bowl. To remove the float bowl, push the hinge pin out from the right to the left and use a grip to lightly pull the pin out. When you take the float bowl out, be gentle to avoid any impact to the bowl or the needle attached. We also need to remove the jets for cleaning, so get your flathead screwdriver out and slowly twist out the pieces. Don't force any pieces to open up. You can loosen it out of the hole by tapping on the metal with the side of your screwdriver. For stubborn pieces, use your vice grips or pliers to rotate out the piece. Now that we have the parts disassembled, let's take a look at some dirt. See these sandy particles sitting at the bottom? They've been causing all sorts of trouble. Any of this getting into a carburetor can impact the performance of your engine and the fuel's access to be able to do its job getting to the engine. You're gonna see when you pick out some of it and touch it, it does have that grimy, sandy texture. Grab your carb cleaner and squeeze it into the fuel tube to make sure that the fuel line is cleaned out. To check the jets, hold them up to a light source and study the tiny holes. They should be clear through. Use carb cleaner for a quick clean. Then for the jet ports, use a fine wire to go through each one of the ports and make sure that it's clean as well. Also, clean out the float bowl with some carb cleaner. Run some carb cleaner into the gas bowl and press the lever with a flathead screwdriver to clean the accelerator pump shaft. You're going to want to pump it a couple of times until you see the liquid come out. Spray all of your disassembled screws with WD-40. This will make reassembly easier. Now that you've cleaned out all the pieces, let's go ahead and put everything back together. Screw back in all of the jets in their appropriate ports. Apply even pressure using a flathead screwdriver. Place the float bowl back in and lock in the pin. Rotate the gas bowl and align it with the screws. Now lock everything down into place. Don't forget to reassemble the idle assembly screw and place it back onto the carb. Reconnect the fuel line and then refit the rubber housing from the airbox in the engine. Remember, putting it back on takes a lot longer, so be patient with it. It'll take some time, but it's worth it. Now, start the engine with a little bit of choke. Adjust the idle adjustment screw and lower the choke until you have 1,000 to 1,500 RPMs. Then turn off the choke completely, it should idle on its own. All done, and those sweet, sweet revs. If you're still having trouble getting your bike to idle, I recommend following user 76 Pause checklist on the Honda Rebel forum. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful.